In the freezing silence of the northern forests, there lies a secret as old as fear itself. A name whispered through the icy wind, capable of freezing the blood of even the bravest. Have you ever heard of the Wendigo? Prepare yourself to enter a story where hunger is not just physical, but a curse that devours the soul. Picture yourself on a freezing night, where the wind cuts through the trees like sharpened blades, carrying an ancient whisper. In the distance, the cracking of branches echoes through the deathly silence of the forest. It's in this tomb-like white landscape that, for the first time, the name Wendigo takes shape, spoken in the trembling voices of Algonquin hunters. A creature born from hunger and despair, with a heart turned to ice, and moans so chilling they freeze the blood of anyone who dares to listen. On cold nights under a waning moon, the tribes would gather around the crackling fire, telling stories to keep the fear at bay. But when the night breeze carried the sound of heavy footsteps across the snow, everyone fell silent. They said that somewhere, in a dark corner of the forest, someone could feel a presence, watching, starving. The flames flickered, casting shadows that seemed to come alive. And there, the terrifying legend was born, of a spirit capable of devouring not just flesh, but the very sanity of those who crossed its path. Walking through snow-covered trails becomes a test of courage and of sanity. Step by step, footprints appear and vanish without explanation, as if the frozen ground were a stage for illusions. Each crooked, uneven track carries the weight of a supernatural predator. And then everything stops. The sound of footsteps, the wind, even the beating of your own heart. Between the blinding white and the encroaching dark, only one truth remains. Something was there. The elders tell of a hunter who, after returning from a failed expedition, found his companions dead from starvation. Desperate, he gave in to the torment within and fed his hunger in a horrific way, by devouring his own kin. From that unthinkable act, his skin stretched over protruding bones, his eyes became hollow voids, and his soul, consumed by hunger, turned into the legendary Wendigo, a creature cursed to roam the forests, forever starving. Some say the Wendigo approaches in utter silence, until fear becomes a suffocated scream. Travelers have reported feeling an icy breath on the back of their neck, a faint rustle of snow, and then a howl so soul-shattering it makes the spirit tremble. That sound, distant yet disturbingly intimate, slips into the mind, whispering promises of relief from suffering, but demanding in return the highest price, complete surrender to the darkness within. The descent into madness is slow and treacherous. At first, just restless dreams. Then the traveler can no longer tell reality from hallucination. They taste cold blood on their tongue, see shifting shadows in the corners of their vision, and hear the grinding of cracked teeth. Every time they try to escape, the trees seem to close in. The path disappears, until the mind, exhausted, finally gives in and embraces the terror. Exactly what the Wendigo feeds on. One night, a lone traveler awoke beneath a makeshift tent, the metallic taste of fear thick on his tongue. As he raised his lantern, the burning eyes of the Wendigo flickered at the edge of the camp. The creature, tall and gaunt, rose on bones that scraped beneath stretched, pale skin and whispered in a voice so faint it seemed to echo from within his own mind. "Come, feed my hunger." That's when the man realized running might be useless. The hunger of this entity crawled through the darkest corners of the soul. Legend says that during a snowstorm, a group became lost among twisted trees. They marched for hours, when until one by one, they slipped into patches of thin ice. When the last one remained, he heard a whisper, "I'm here." He turned, only to find nothing but veils of snow. But when he looked forward again, a bony hand gripped his shoulder. Some believe there was never a physical Wendigo, only the snow, the wind, and the twisted reflection of fear itself. The dreams of those who escaped are haunted by hungry mouths whispering their names. They see outstretched arms, starving hands, scratch marks on tree trunks that, by morning, are gone. Each dawn they find deep grooves in the snow, like claws marking their fate. These marks are frozen laments etched into the world, unforgettable reminders that not even daylight can erase the Wendigo's trail. To understand the true nature of the Wendigo, one must look beyond its rotting flesh and protruding bones. They say its eyes hold the abyss of madness, mirrors that reflect our darkest instincts. Those who stare for too long begin to hear their own inner voices turning into whispers of hunger, not for flesh, but for life, for fear, for something no words can truly describe. In ancient records, tribal chiefs once tried to confront the Wendigo using sacred rituals. Dances and chants echoed beneath the northern lights as drums thundered like distant storms. But even with the strength of their ancestors, few managed to save the victims. Accounts say the spirit simply stood with folded arms, silently watching, waiting for the moment when faith would tremble and hunger would prevail. Some survivors returned to civilization, but never escaped the Wendigo's empty gaze. Their once steady voices became shaky, their eyes deep wells of mistrust, shunned by their own communities, who feared they had been tainted by horror. They now wander like urban shadows, carrying fragments of that endless night with them. They say the key to defeating the Wendigo isn't fire or weapons, but facing our own demons. One must resist the whispers of guilt, greed, and despair, the very flames that once forged its spirit. Only those who find compassion within their own hearts can drive away the darkness and silence the eternal hunger. At the height of the confrontation, the icy wind seems to part, revealing a moonlit clearing. There, between frozen trees, human and Wendigo face each other. One seeks protection, the other to satisfy a deep, endless void. Every word exchanged is a challenge. Do you fear me, or the worst part of yourself? And then courage sparks, a single ember that might dissolve centuries of fear or consume the challenger entirely. When the echo of the final howl fades, only the biting cold and absolute silence remain. But the legend still lives within us, reminding us that true monstrosity is born from desperation. And the question that lingers in the dark, would you have the strength to face the Wendigo? Or would you be the next to fall to the hunger that devours the soul? And so, in the silence of the final trail, the wind carries the whispers of the legend. The Wendigo is not just a monster. It is a cruel mirror of what the human soul can become in the face of despair. Maybe it never lived among us, or maybe it's always been here, watching, waiting for a vulnerable heart to awaken. The forest closes in, the cold returns, and now only one question remains. If one day hunger comes knocking at your door, will you resist or will you answer the Wendigo's call?